Today I'm going to be doing something that I don't really do with much intention very often, and that is checking my credit scores. Hey wealth builders, welcome back to the Bemused and to our first day of Vlogmas. This is our first time trying Vlogmas and we are going to give it our best shot. All through December, we're going to be checking up on our financial health and prepping our finances for the new year. If you're new around here, welcome. My name is Akeiva, and on this channel, we make sense of money for young adults just like me. So if you're into that, go ahead and come join the squad by hitting that subscribe button. And while you're at it, turn on the notification bell so you never miss when we post new videos, especially during this month of December where we'll be posting a lot of very helpful videos. Your credit scores are an important piece of your financial health, and you should check up on them ever so often, especially if you know that you're going to be applying for new credit in the not so distant future. In fact, one of the first videos we ever posted to this channel was a two-part series on how to build good credit. And we took a deeper look at the FICO Score 8, which is the most popular type of credit score that most lenders use, and how to have a very good FICO score. Now, I receive periodic credit score updates through some of the financial institutions that I do business with, whether that's I have a bank account or a credit card with that institution. And notice that I'm saying the word credit scores and not score as a singular word because, as we mentioned in our two-part credit series, there are different types of credit scores out there. There isn't just one solitary type of credit score. For example, both Chase and Capital One use the VantageScore 3.0 model, and that information is sent through TransUnion, which is one of the three major credit bureaus, which are TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Then Discover sends me a FICO Score 8, and Wells Fargo, for example, sends me a FICO Score 9. And if you use a popular credit reporting agency like Credit Sesame or Credit Karma, those two agencies also use the VantageScore 3.0 credit model. So now let's talk about Vantage scores for a second. So the Vantage score is kind of like a competitor to FICO, the Fair Isaac Corporation, who furnishes the very popular FICO score, which most lenders use, like I mentioned earlier. It's kind of seen as an alternative. Now the scoring range is the same for a Vantage score and a FICO score between 300 and 850. However, these models value credit a little differently. So for both FICO scores and Vantage scores, the singular most important factor that goes into determining your credit score is your payment history. Are you making your payments on time? However, here's where things get a little different. With FICO, the second most highly influential item is your total amount of debt and amounts owed on that debt. So for example, if I have a loan, a student loan for example, that was $50,000 and right now my balance is $51,000 due to interest, that's not going to have a good effect on my FICO score, and that will really heavily affect my score. Whereas with VantageScore, the two other most highly influential items in that model are the age and type of credit. So if you have a really short credit history, which as a young adult you might have, that's going to negatively affect you more on the VantageScore model than the FICO Score model. Also, the type of credit, meaning your credit mix. Do you have installment loans and credit cards and a mortgage and all the things? Also with the Vantage score, the percent of your credit limit that you utilize is also a really, really heavy hitter in determining that score. So if you have a credit card with a $20,000 limit and you max out your credit card every month, that's not gonna do well for you when it comes to the Vantage score model. And just for context, the highest kind of credit score rating for Vantage score starts at a 781, whereas with FICO score, they consider their highest rating to start at an 800 credit score. Now, what's the difference between FICO Score 8, which is the most commonly used credit score, and the updated FICO Score 9? Like I mentioned earlier, I get my FICO Score 8 from Discover and my FICO Score 9 from Wells Fargo. So there are three important changes that FICO instituted with the new FICO Score 9. Firstly, third-party collection items that you've now paid off are now removed from that model. So with the FICO Score 8, if you had any debt that went into collections and that you paid off, it still negatively affected your credit score. And with the FICO Score 9, that's eliminated. So if you paid off a debt that was in collections, that's no longer gonna have a negative impact on the new FICO Score 9. The second thing is medical debt. I know medical debt is something that isn't really talked about that often, but I'm sure that a lot of people have. So medical debt now has less of an impact on your credit score in the FICO Score 9. Thirdly, the FICO Score 9 now incorporates rental history. So even if you don't have a long credit history, but you have a pretty good history of making your rent payments on time and things like that, so if that stuff is reported to credit bureaus, that is now factored into your FICO Score 9. So that could help or it could hurt you. Now, aside from the general FICO scores, there are also industry-specific scores. So if you're getting an auto loan, you will most likely want to know your FICO Auto Score. Yes, that is a thing. Your FICO Auto Score. So your FICO Auto Score is generated by just making very slight tweaks to your standard FICO score. However, they do use a different range. So the bottom end, instead of 300 to 850, your FICO Auto Score is ranged between 250 and 900. And that is also the range for the FICO Bank Card Score, which is the score that a lot of credit card lenders use when they are running your credit, when you're applying for a new credit card. Of course, making slight tweaks to the algorithm to more closely predict your success or your credit worthiness when it comes to credit cards. And then if you're intending on buying a house soon and getting a mortgage lenders typically use one or all of the 3 FICO scores. And that is your FICO Score 2 based on data from Experian, your FICO Score 4 based on TransUnion data, and your FICO Score 5 based on Equifax data. And those also have the standard range of 300 to 850. And lenders, like I said, will use one or all of these scores in determining your creditworthiness for a mortgage. And for other types of credit, like personal loans, student loans, or retail credit cards, you're just gonna wanna know your standard FICO 8 because that is the score that is most widely used. So now with all that said, let's take a look at my scores. So for Chase, my VantageScore 3.0 through TransUnion is updated as of today, actually December 1st, and it's showing that my VantageScore is a 759. So not too bad. Like I said, the highest rating starts at about a 781, so I'm about 20 odd points away from that. Then with Capital One, like I said, they also show the VantageScore 3.0 through TransUnion, and this data is updated as of November 25th, and it's showing 758, which is in line with what Chase is showing, because with Chase, I can see that it said your credit score has increased 1 point since the last time it was updated, which was probably November 24th around that time. So it's looking like at least these two platforms are saying the same thing, which is good. And my Capital One score will be updated again tomorrow. So I'm expecting to see 759 show up for Capital One tomorrow. Then with Discover, my FICO Score 8 updated as of November 18th is a 790, which is super exciting. So I'm only like 10 points off from like the exceptional FICO Score category. And this actually recently increased because a couple of my inquiries that I had have dropped off of the reporting, which made my score go up. But I also did have a recent inquiry on my credit, which hasn't showed up on this model yet. So we'll see how that affects my credit and if it decreases a couple points. And then for Wells Fargo, my FICO Score 9, and they use Experian for theirs, as of November 2nd is a 794. So like I mentioned earlier, age and type of credit weigh a lot more heavily on the Vantage scores, which is why I guess my Vantage scores are usually consistently much lower than my FICO scores. Because as a young adult, naturally, my credit history is not that long. Most of these bureaus are reporting 6 years of credit history, which is about right. That's about the time when I started my freshman year of college and took out my first student loans, which kind of started my credit history. Even when I look into more information in the VantageScore kind of breakdown, it's saying my top reasons, the top 3 things that are lowering my credit score is the date you opened your oldest account is too recent. So like I said, lack of credit history, lack of sufficient credit history, don't know what the difference is there, and lack of sufficient relevant real estate account information. So basically they're saying that I don't have a mortgage, which would help my credit mix. Like I mentioned, I recently made another inquiry on my credit this past month, which hasn't shown up for most of these scores just yet. And also I'm planning on paying off my car this month. So we'll see how those 2 things affect my credit score. And I'll probably make a follow-up video after the new year, seeing how that's affected my score. And before we go, I just wanted to remind you guys that we have officially launched our Wealth Builder Squad merch. And everything in the store is 10% off through tomorrow, Cyber Monday, December 2nd. So if you haven't already, head over to etsy.com/shop/thebemuse and get you or a friend some merch. And if you're not yet a member of the squad, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss when we post new videos. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye!